You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another anime review. Today I'll be reviewing the anime series Ghost Stories. Now, Ghost Stories was originally a horror anime when it was released in Japan, however it was not very successful. So when they brought it over to the US, they basically told the dubbers to just do whatever the hell they felt like. And basically, they turned this from a horror series into a comedy. I do feel like a good majority of it is retro-scripted or improvised altogether. There are many things in it which just don't have anything to do with what the show was originally. Lots of raunchy humor, lots of innuendo, lots of little jabs here and there, pop culture references, things like that. For instance, there's a character that is a psychic in the original Japanese version, but in the US dub, she's changed into a hardcore Christian. As well as there's several ongoing jokes like the main character's mother being a lesbian, which obviously was not in the original Japanese version. And anytime her brother talks, it's a lot of gibberish whenever he's scared. He just goes, or something to that effect. It has a very 2000 sense of humor because that's when the dub came out, and that's one of its strong points because I actually really like the raunchy sense of humor it has. And with the jokes that they have in it, they're constantly poking fun at the series itself, pointing out plot holes, problems with anime in general, and all sorts of other things that make fun of itself. As for the plot of the story, it's basically this group of kids that have to fight ghosts. In every episode, they fight a different ghost, aided by this other ghost called Amano-Jaku, which Amano-Jaku is a very prominent figure in Japanese folklore. He was also the basis of the main character of Urotsuki Doji, which shares the same name. On top of that, all the other ghosts are in fact based on Japanese urban legends. In fact, there is a lost episode, and with the lost episode, it's about the Slitmouth Woman, who is a very prominent figure in Japanese urban legends. Basically, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's a beautiful woman who wears a mask, like a sick mask, out in the street, and she asks you, "Am I beautiful?" and then she reveals her face to you and kills you. But unfortunately, that episode was actually cancelled before it ever aired because it was thought that it might offend cleft-mouthed children, which I guess is a pretty big problem over there in Japan. It's not really a big problem here, but I guess there was a rise of it over there. Personally, I don't see how a cleft lip looks anything like the Slitmouth Woman. Like, a cleft lip looks very different, and also, I don't see it really accomplishing anything to censor it. I think it's kind of dumb, but it happened. And since that episode never aired in Japan, it was also never dubbed or given the treatment that the other episodes were over here. So there's a total of 20 episodes, 21 if you count the lost episode, and it's fantastic. It's filled with all sorts of jokes and all sorts of self-parody and things like that. It's a very fun watch, and it also has that nice urban legend tie to it, which is pretty cool. Obviously, it gets overshadowed by the over-the-top comedic effect that the dubbers did to it, but like I said, I very much enjoyed the dub. I have not seen it subbed, and I have heard people who have seen both say the sub is actually boring. Ghost Stories also started a trend of abridged series. Things like Dragon Ball Abridged, Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, lots of unofficial dubs were heavily inspired by the Ghost Stories official dub to be over-the-top comedic and parody the series. But essentially, it kind of takes me back to an earlier time where things weren't as serious when they were localized. For instance, MXC had a very similar thing done to it where they took Takeshi's Castle, recut it, and dubbed it to be just completely over-the-top comedic and stupid, which is very much what this did, without the recutting, of course. This is just the original footage with a new comedic dub over the top of it. The DVD I own of the series was released by Discotech. It has been released by ADV, who is actually the company that originally did the dub. I highly recommend getting the Discotech release, though, because it does include the ADV dub, as well as it does include the original Japanese with English subs. As far as the series itself, I definitely see why it was turned into a comedy, because a lot of the ghost designs are really goofy and stupid, and I don't think I could take them seriously had it been portrayed as an actual horror over here. But I highly recommend picking it up if you want to see it. It is available on Crunchyroll as well, if I'm not mistaken, because of their deal with Discotech, so you can watch it on there too. Highly recommend it, though, if you're in for a good laugh. It's a joke dub along the likes of MXC or Shin-Chan or other things that were given comedic over-the-top dubs in the US. Overall, if you want to see a funny watch that has some nice Japanese folklore to it, as well as a lot of really stupid over-the-top jokes, I highly recommend watching Ghost Stories. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye, and you have a great day.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.